So today we'll be talking about Carnival and Mardi Gras. So as I got into researching this, I realized that in order to have any type of discussion about Carnival and Mardi Gras, you had to start with talking some about the Christian liturgical year, or at least part of it. My apologies, but that's where I'm starting. So, Epiphany. I don't know how many of you know what Epiphany is, but I was raised Episcopalian, and so I have some recollection of that. Epiphany is traditionally January 6th, but in many countries, it's now celebrated on the first Sunday after the New Year, but it's January 6th. So it's a Christian feast day that celebrates the revelation of God incarnate as Jesus Christ, which is the belief that Jesus was made flesh by being conceived by God, the Virgin Mary, making him both fully God and fully human. Think of him actually as the first recorded half-breed. I'm native, I can say it. This is central to the traditional faith held by most Christians, that Jesus is two things at once, fully God, fully human. In Western Christianity, the feast commemorates the visit of the Magi to the Christ child and is sometimes called Three Kings Day. It's customary for Christians in many places to remove their Christmas decorations on Epiphany Eve, which is called 12th night. I don't know how many of you follow that tradition. I do. I'm appalled at people removing theirs, frankly, the day after Christmas. I understand that. Anyhow, in some Christian countries, though, people historically remove their Christmas decorations on Candlemas, which is February 2nd, which is at the conclusion of Epiphany. According to the first tradition of removing them on 12th night, anyone who forgets to remove their decorations then has to wait until February 2nd. And Candlemas is actually, it commemorates the presentation of Jesus at the temple 40 days after his birth, which was a traditional thing for Jewish people to do. Bring their child lives 40 days, bring it to the temple and make a sacrifice on their child's behalf. So Carnival occurs between Epiphany and Lent, and typically involves public celebrations, including parades, public street parties, and other entertainments, combining some elements of a circus, elaborate costumes and masks. And the masks date back to the Venice Carnival in the 15th century. These allow people to experience a heightened sense of social unity while at times hiding their true selves behind a costume. Lent is also a time when people no longer indulge in a variety of things. So Carnival is the time to just let things go. It's a time of great indulgence. Participants often excessively consume alcohol, meat, and other foods that would be foregone during Lent. Often pancakes, donuts, and other desserts were prepared and eaten for a final time. The feast is also a time to indulge in a lot of sex. Sex was supposed to be suppressed during Lent, and during Lent generally, less animal products are eaten, and people make a Lenten sacrifice, giving up a certain kind of food or an activity that they desire. So other common features of Carnival include mock battles such as food fights, expression of social satire, mockery of authorities, and a general reversal of everyday rules and norms. think this is one of the reasons gay people love it so. The term Carnival is traditionally used in areas with a large Catholic presence. In areas with a high concentration of Protestants, celebrations occur on Shrove Tuesday, which is also called Mardi Gras. Traditionally, in the last few days of Carnival, known as Shrovetide, people confessed or shrived their sins in preparation for Lent. From an anthropological point of view, Carnival is a reversal ritual in which social roles are reversed and norms about desired behavior are suspended. Carnival can be regarded as a rite of passage from winter to spring, and it's really the first spring festival of the new year. Some cultures use Carnival as a method of expressing and empowering themselves. For example, when the Caribbean, Carnival was established as a result of French settlers, even the slaves had their version of the masquerade, where they would reverse roles to mock those of higher social status. Carnival brings communities together. In a day where all are meant to perform a mask that differs from their typical identity, all members of a society are able to connect through theater and satire. So you needed to know all that really before getting into a discussion about Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras is the day before Ash Wednesday. As I said, also called Shrove Tuesday. I grew up going to Shrove Tuesday pancake dinners at the Episcopal Church that I grew up in. So anyhow, Shrove Tuesday or Mardi Gras reflects the practice of the last night before Lent, just eating everything you can, rich and fatty foods, and then you can do that up till midnight, and then after 12:01, you're in Lent, and you need to fast, and you need to make sacrifices. So Mardi Gras has an interesting history in the United States. Most of us now just think of New Orleans when we think of Mardi Gras, but it's more complex than that. So a number of traditionally ethnic French cities and regions in the US have notable celebrations. Mardi Gras first arrived in North America as a French Catholic tradition with the Lemoyne brothers, Pierre Lemoyne d'Iberville and Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienville. This was in the late 17th century when King Louis XIV sent them to defend France's claim on the territory of Louisiana, which included what are now the US states of Alabama, Missouri, Louisiana, and part of eastern Texas. Bienville founded a settlement in Mobile, Alabama. And in 1702, it was the first capital of French Louisiana. The next year, in 1703, they held the first organized Mardi Gras celebration in what was to eventually become the United States. And in fact, they formed the first informal mystic society, or crew. Crew is more of a New Orleans term. Mystic society is more a term that people in Mobile use. Anyhow, so the first one was formed in 1711. And that was the Fatted Ox Society. So you might be wondering, like, what really is a crew or a mystic society? So it's a Mardi Gras social organization that presents parades or balls for the enjoyment of its members, guests, and the public. A crew might have a particular charity or cause that they support. They often will hold events during the remainder of the calendar year to raise funds, first for putting on their Mardi Gras events, and then if they're supporting a charity for whatever that is. The interesting thing that I did not realize is that when a crew holds a parade, traditionally the crew members who are riding on the float, they're responsible for buying the items that they toss themselves. That has to be a lot of money. Anyhow, so in 1723, New Orleans was made the capital of Louisiana, and their first Mardi Gras parade was held in 1837. So it really is a relatively new thing for New Orleans. Mardi Gras really is now synonymous with the city of New Orleans to the rest of us. And it really is now embraced by all residents of New Orleans, for nothing else because of the economic benefit that they get. And Mardi Gras celebrations are part of the basis for the slogan, "Let the good times roll." On Mardi Gras Day, when they have the last of the season's parades, and actually during Carnival in New Orleans, they have a series of parades. So the Mardi Gras celebrations aren't only one day, although as Linda Santee pointed out to me, anything not held on Fat Tuesday is Carnival. It's not Mardi Gras. She corrected me on that. So, but Mardi Gras really is the day when people let loose and have amazing parties. Linda was telling me a few years ago about just the partying that goes on in all of New Orleans on Mardi Gras. She'd talk about getting up early in the morning and you're just starting to put your costume on that you spent a lot of money on and took great care to invest in. But she's like, yeah, you just start to get dressed and then, got to take the dog for a walk. You'd be out walking your dog, half dressed in your costume, and people would be, on their front porches partying and inviting you over for, a quick drink or a bite to eat. And it would just be like one big party. And then later in the day, like literally you're going from one party to the other. It is like one big drunken hedonistic party all day until midnight. Got to get there sometime for that. But it just was stunning, just like how much partying, how much drinking people got in a day. And Linda would talk about like you'd have to know, you have to plan your day, so you'd make it through the day, because it's a lot of eating and a lot of drinking. So on Mardi Gras Day, like I said, it's the last of the season's parades and parties, and it comes to the close with something called the Meeting of the Courts, which is known locally as the Rex Ball. And that's how they end the day, with the Rex Ball and one last huge party. Other cities on the Gulf Coast with early French colonial heritage also have Mardi Gras celebrations, and that includes Pensacola, Florida, Galveston, Texas, Lake Charles, who we're probably all familiar with, and then Lafayette, Louisiana. And then in the north, up to Natchez, Mississippi, and Alexandria, Louisiana. They also have very active Mardi Gras celebrations. And St. Louis, Missouri, that was founded in 1764 by French fur traders, hosts the second largest Mardi Gras celebration in the US, attracting hundreds of thousands of people from all around the country. The interesting thing is that their Mardi Gras activities date back only to the 1980s. So they started this 40 years ago. I'm assuming it was an opportunity to engage in some economic development and getting other people's money and keeping it. So some Mardi Gras traditions. The festival season does vary from city to city. New Orleans considered Mardi Gras to stretch the entire period from 12th night, the last day of Christmas, which, January 6th, to Epiphany, from Epiphany to Ash Wednesday. Others treat the final 3-day period before Ash Wednesday as Mardi Gras. So not to be outdone by New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama has Mardi Gras associated social events beginning in November, followed by Mystic Society balls on Thanksgiving. And then after New Year's Eve, they really get going and have parades and balls in January and February, celebrating up to midnight before Ash Wednesday. The costumes people wear in Mardi Gras are just amazing, actually. So celebrations involve the use of masks and costumes by its participants. And the most popular celebratory colors are purple, which stands for justice, green, which stands for faith, and gold, which stands for power. Costumes often take the shape of fairies, animals, people from myths, or various medieval costumes, as well as clowns, and interestingly enough, Native Americans. And actually, there are several crews, and crews are often segregated by race, frankly. There are Black crews and there are white crews. And many of the Black crews, their costumes actually depict Native Americans. And that is a tradition going back to the beginning. And some of it is because of the strong relationship between African Americans and Native Americans. Many costumes today, though, are just simply elaborate creations of colored feathers and capes. And they all seem to be very expensive. Having seen someone's costume that was Native American, it was huge, beaded, there's feathers everywhere. It I'm sure cost several $1,000s. So women exposing their breasts during Mardi Gras in New Orleans has been documented since 1889. Good heavens. Anyhow, the New Orleans Times Democrat described the, quote, degree of immodesty exhibited by nearly all female masqueraders seen on the street, end quote. The practice was mostly limited to tourists in the Upper Bourbon Street area. In the crowded streets of the French Quarter, which is generally avoided by locals, it really is. They stay away from there. But flashers on balconies cause problems from the streets below. So you might be wondering, like, how does all this involve gay people? Well, first, we do love a good party. And back when people were very closeted, a celebration where you could wear costumes and where cross-dressing was normalized was very popular with us. Add alcohol and decadence, count us in. It was great. Yeah, it's like Halloween. And Halloween is the, gay high holy day. But you have lots of booze and lots of great food. It's like things everyone loves. Yes. Add booze and sex and great food, fun times, and we're there. So Sydney, Australia actually hosts an annual gay and lesbian Mardi Gras festival. That's the only gay organization I know of in the world that actually has like a big Mardi Gras event. And it actually attracts hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world. And it is one of the largest pride events in the world. The Sydney Mardi Gras grew from gay rights parades held in the 1970s and 80s. And of course, back in the 70s, what would happen was the police would arrest a lot of participants, and they just kept going and making the party bigger and bigger until it is what it is today, which is an economic boon to Sydney, Australia. So originally we had planned on doing a fundraiser during Carnival. As Linda Santee pointed out to me, it was not on Mardi Gras because Mardi Gras is this coming Tuesday. But because of COVID, we decided that that was something that we just could not safely do this year. We had a way to sell food to the public that was safe, but there would have been many of us around each other, and that kind of thing. And frankly, we want to keep us all safe. So we didn't do that this year, but in the future, that is something that Sioux and Pride Alliance would like to collaborate with the church. One of the things I said earlier, that eating rich foods and all that was very popular in Carnival. And so one of the things we would be doing is making king cakes for sale. No one in the community makes king cakes to sell. And I actually know a way of making them that isn't that tough. Like, I'm not a baker and I can make a king cake. So hopefully next year we will be able to sell king cakes and actually dinners as well. And hopefully in the future that will be a fundraiser that the church and Sioux and Pride will become known for. All right, so I do have some closing words. Okay, and this is from the back of our hymnal. And it is attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. It's number 702. Where hate rules, let us bring love. Where sorrow, joy. Let us strive more to comfort others than to be comforted, to understand others than to be understood, to love others more than to be loved. For it is in the giving that we receive, and in pardoning that we are pardoned.